inside the playoffs bracket. And that gives a little bit more energy, a little bit more hype. And to translate that hype and information to you, we got a brand new desk coming up. So let's get him here because of the good broadcast heading towards us. There we go. Trajan and Bandit, welcome to UCAL for Nations. A new broadcast coming in. Trajan just told us there's a playoffs bracket right inside of that, just starting it off a little bit. Do you also notice there's a bit of different energy right now because we're heading towards more important games?
Yeah, I mean, this is elimination time now, right? We've done the upper bracket. We've been on the roller coaster that is the upper bracket so far, and I'm sure plenty of those in the chat, plenty of Oregoners in the chat are probably still stinging from those game results. But this is now, you lose, you're out. There is no more second chances, and the fact that one of these two teams we're looking at today is the defending champion and could be going home today, certainly not what we expected to be.
Indeed. So there's a lot of weight coming in this broadcast, Bandit, because those teams could lose potentially their spot inside the playoffs. One of those teams has to leave. How did you prepare for today?
I think it's just it's proper to look back, but not too far, right? These teams are ever changing. The dynamics currently in the league, they're very fluid, and you're gonna have to take it on a day-by-day basis, and especially when elimination is lurking around the corner, it can really bring out the best in certain teams, and teams that you had high hopes for can crack under the pressure.
Indeed, and speaking of those cracks and the pressure and some of those players maybe dropping down to the lower bracket, today we're going to kick off inside the lower bracket. So the 18th of August, we kick things off in the upper bracket, which was a bit of Rollercoaster Tycoon cosplay, just like Trajan told us a little bit. But right now we're going towards the lower bracket. That means if you lose this match, this best of 3 is the end for you in this specific split. And the one that we will cover for today is about two teams who supposedly should have a big difference in between them, because inside the standings there was a bit of a gap. We're going to look towards Absolved playing versus Venom Crest, and Trajan kicking things off maybe with Absolved, who came in at the 5th place in the standings. What was your feeling initially about that team?
So for Absolved, it does feel like by and large they have overperformed on this split. There were plenty of analysts ready to put a lot of respect on their name. Players like Emil, Mutter, these guys have been around for a long, long time. Now Cormac is back in the top lane here today. So there's a lot of names that we can trust, but I think people expected them to settle into the mid-pack, and when we were still thinking teams like Bandits would perform better, Venom Crest would perform better, there's not really much room for them in that upper half of the bracket. However, they have actually been on this steady kind of lane of improvement. They have been playing very, very well. They've had star power. Players like Emil have been very, very effective carries throughout most of the season, and they seem like they have a good understanding of where their strengths are and how to play to them. So maybe they don't appear like the flashiest roster on the surface, but I think coming together, they're actually one of our better 5 stacks that can play together as a team.
But Bandit, that should actually mean that the standings might give us a bit of a fake storyline, because Trajan just told us that actually Absolved is a team that could be quite strong if you listen to his words. What is your feeling about Absolved, GG?
Definitely. I think when you look at the standings, the regular season is not that long, right? We have a long playoffs ahead of us. So teams are ever changing as the season goes on and on. And when I look at this roster, I think, and that will kind of, spoiling a bit for Venom Crest as well, I think a lot of pressure and a lot of agency will be with these junglers and how they will be enabling their carries. If you can get the engine running, both of these teams are very capable of pulling it over the line.
And you speak about both of these teams, let's head over to the other team, Venom Crest, because there is something interesting about Venom Crest. I mean, they are participating in the playoffs bracket, but barely. They had the same scoreline, sharing it with Paragon and Bandits. They were so close by not making it, but right now they're here. And I'm just wondering, Trajan, for Venom Crest, what to you is the reason that they should be in the playoffs, or what is maybe one of the reasons they barely made it? Is there something that identifies maybe the issues of Venom Crest and their lower part in the standings?
So, when we did the review show, the pre-playoffs review show with myself, with Rob, and Temporal, I found myself having to be the lone Venom Crest defender at that point. And in previous splits, Venom Crest fans were, they were like the worst person just made a great point. It was obvious, they were so good, no one wanted to admit it, but it was just true. This split now, being a Venom Crest defender, makes me at least be looking like I've got a tummy ache, but I'm being so brave about it. It's absolutely tragic. This team feels like it's fallen so far, and it has such undeniable strengths. And players like Chrisberg and Matthew, especially down in bot lane. Fraze is a back-to-back defending champion jungler that no one seems to remember, but it's these replacements in the solo lanes, Refresh and Ketsuo, that have really struggled, I think, to gel as we would have hoped. I believe it is actually Refresh in that top side. Cormac, I believe, is playing top side for Absolve today. But they have not necessarily been able to perform as we've seen in the past. Refresh as well is an ex-champion, but it's been way more mistake-prone than before. Ketsuo is now way more mistake-prone in the lane, and it's just not the same reliable threats that Bust and Air used to provide for this team.
But of course, I've seen a couple of these games. For a couple of these, I've been inside the broadcast as well as a host. And I noticed for Venomcrest that sometimes it feels like one decision, which could have been a bit of a mistake, snowballs into a lot more different decisions. That means they're suddenly 4K behind, maybe 2 objectives. And Bandit, that makes it hard for Venomcrest. But today, it is playoffs time. And it also means we saw in the upper bracket, sometimes it could be a bit of a roller coaster. So what are your expectations for Venomcrest? Is there something spicy or surprising they might have up their sleeve?
So I think I'll put some attention on the point that Trajan made earlier as well, and that is when you look at Venomcrest, there are lots of memories and there's lots of history in the org, right? Especially for the division we're in, and it's easy to get caught up in what used to be and what we used to know about an org. To let that lull you into a state where like, oh no, Venomcrest just on name recognition, they should have it. But when you look at the matches that have been played, it's a little uninspired. And when I look at Absolved and what they bring to the table, it seems a little more lively, a little more fresh. And if Venomcrest keeps sticking with what is familiar and what we've already seen, I do not think it's enough. So who's going to have to step up? FaZe in the jungle is going to have to take a big leap forward, either really focusing on himself or focusing on his teammates, and not this wishy-washy in the middle of the road type of stuff. Commit, my man.
Yeah, and specifically, the teammate that I wanted to focus on is Chrisberg. I want to see Chrisberg and Matthew enabled to carry from the bot side. You mentioned before, Bandit, that like you don't want to look too far into the past before. I think that's very apt here, because I went and looked back at the Absolve Venomcrest match from week 2, I think it was. Only 5 out of the 10 players from that match are on the Rift here today. It's barely even the same matchup, and Venomcrest has been plagued by these subs and roster changes all the way through the season. They are now back to main roster today, and they need to get back to what was working before, and what's working is Chrisberg, and that's why we've got the head-to-head as it is.
Yeah, indeed, because I feel like there's a couple of storylines. For Absolve GG, if I listen to Trajan, actually also to Bandit, it feels like they are still get some hiccups in the regular playoffs weeks. But if you look for Venomcrest, it feels like there's a lot more things they need to be wary of. They need to maybe compose themselves in a better way to maybe even have a chance. But for this bot lane, of course, jungle can have a lot of impact. But Bandit, what do you feel like for the lane is the most important thing? Is there one of these lanes that you feel like is a lot stronger?
I think if I'm going to have to look at bot lane, my eyes just immediately wander down to Gibble and what kind of performances they've been putting up this split so far. And the word that just comes to mind is reliable. It is just, the ceiling is not super duper high, but neither are the floors. And just having a proper foundation to work from, that gives the rest of the team ease of mind that they can focus on their game plan. They know what to expect from the port, and you can build on top of that.
That's nice. Speaking of building on things, we also got our famous predictions. Of course, this desk, the oracles of course, the UCL 4 Nations, because we know about almost everything, of course. We got a bit of a different prediction here, and it's surprising, because there is Trajan and me who only predict the Venomcrest, and that we might be a bit of the stranger ones here in this broadcast. I'm wondering, Trajan, what is your reason to vote for the team, which initially had so many problems or maybe issues with their shot calling, and had the lower standings?
So I do have faith that when they're, like I said before, they're back on the same main roster now, and that is going to alleviate some of the issues. They are going to be able to slot back and maybe find some of the cohesion that has been struggling to build up for a while. Additionally, for Absolved, we're playing with Mutter, we're not playing with Gabby down on bot side, and I believe we're playing with Cormac, not with Dognappy. Now, it's not that Cormac or Dognappy are necessarily better or worse, but the comp is different. This is their first stage game with Cormac this entire split, so that is not going to be quite as easily slotting in there. And Mutter is not as much of a late game threat as Gabby is, just as a different pool. He's got AP threats, he's got off-meta picks, he's got utility, but he doesn't have the sort of Jinx, Aphelios, I will carry late game element that Gabby has. So I think the emphasis is going to be really heavily on Emil to 1v9 the series. And if Venomcrest can get it together, if they can understand that, identify it, and play around it, then I think it is possible for them to adapt and neuter the Emil threat, and then they have Chrisberg and Refresh waiting to go.
and that is immediately where you put kind of your finger on the sore spot, and that is because Ketsuo does worry me. From what he has shown before, it does not spark the confidence when Emil has been more convincing. And it's really about the prep that these teams can do and the experience they have under their belt. And that is maybe the point where I'd be like, oh, that is what an older organization like Venom Crest does bring. This is not their first rodeo. And even if the players are different, just the management and just the experience in the organization itself will go a long way.
By the way, I just noticed Cormac is also here in chat. So Cormac, if you're listening in, good luck in the upcoming game, of course, if you're about to play. But also for me, it felt like for Venom Crest, our image of Venom Crest that we saw was mostly because, yes, there were some other players, but also most games I saw them playing was a bit of a stomp. So I feel like for Venom Crest, the foundation on which we base our information is a bit scuffed. I feel like there could be a real different Venom Crest heading into the playoffs. So that's why I really give them a good chance to grab the win. It should be a 2-1, though, in my opinion. And everybody listening in, it's a best of 3 in total. Trajan, how much of a difference do you feel like is there between those teams? Like was your prediction real hard? Do you feel like, this is a big gap? What do you feel like?
It's really hard. I think this is very much me predicting based on what Venom Crest can be, not necessarily what they were about 3 days ago, right? And this is me hoping that we're going to have a big step forward here into playoffs, partly, hopefully, because of the experience shining through, settling back on the roster, the changes in Absolve not necessarily helping them in this matchup. And, just to be clear for Cormac, it's not his first UKL game, it's his first stage game this split with this Absolve roster. He does have time with Dakin, and I believe with Emil as well. I think probably with the entire roster, potentially actually in Div 2 on DMG. So it's not like they've never played together before, but it has not been the way they've been playing before. It's a very different style of top laner to Dognappy. Dognappy is a lot more weak side king, a lot more enabling the rest of the team. Cormac's a bruiser. He's an old school bruiser player, but, Cormac off Darius, Monk AS. So we'll see if the draft is going to alleviate it, if they're going to get something strong for him. I do think we might need to try and get something strong for Cormac, because when he was last in the UKL, I think it's fair to say he didn't have the best time. I don't think he had the strongest performance, so we'll see. We'll see if he's sharpened up a bit.
Yeah, Trajan, there is a warning when you go investing, and that is previous results are no guarantee for the future. And those are words I live by.
Exactly.
And they go both ways. I'm thinking the last time I've seen someone underperform in a league before and then make a comeback, they absolutely smashed the favorites from the entire league. Guppy, shout out. So I am very curious to see. Your point stands, definitely. But it's really up to the draft right now. And as bans are coming in, I think there's no real surprises, right? We're just taking out some real priority junglers, some comfort across the board, some very stable picks, so we can move on and disrupt a little bit some of those easy blind pickable champs.
A quick question for the both of you. So if I ask you, which is the lane with the biggest difference, or maybe which one would that be, Trajan?
I think it's probably mid. I think
mid
Bandit kind of hit the nail on the head before. I think it's mid, and it's Absolve favored. I think that depending on how well Mutter can exploit his own champion pool to get a good matchup, it could be bot lane in second position there. And if Refresh just locks in for once, like this split, top lane could be very favored for Venom Crest. But I think the most consistent, the most defensible choice, I think, is mid lane. I think Emil is very, 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 very good. Best player on that team, and maybe the best mid in the league right now.
Yeah. Bandit?
Yeah, and definitely mid lane. And I think it's also enhanced by the role of the jungler, right? Because we have on one side a jungler that will enable his carries, and on the other hand, a jungler that is not as afraid to enable himself a little bit more now and then. And when you have a lead in the lane and you have a jungler making it even worse, though, that's the kind of snowball that becomes very quickly unstoppable.
Indeed. Speaking of snowballs, we got, of course, the Smolder heading over towards Absolved GG. Speaking of snowballs, by the way, Nunu just being locked in. I like that coincidence. Very annoying to deal with. Could be placed into multiple lanes. Of course, you could jungle it. I've even seen it mid lane, which is psychotic and really, really annoying to play versus. So it could go anywhere at this point in time, Trajan.
Look, I love the Yunara pickup for Chrisberg. I think he performed decently well on it when we've seen it before. Obviously, it's a new pick. It's still pretty hard to manage around. But The Smolder one is interesting to me because it's normally Absolve like to pick something early for Emil because he can flex and he's happy to blind into most situations. Surely we are not blinding Smolder for Emil on mid lane when you have an very explorable mid matchup. This tells me it's most likely for Mutter, which again, I think this is potentially exploitable in a negative way for Absolved right now. If you've got Yunara on one side with an aggressive duo into a Smolder, I think that might make bot lane a bit of a pain point for Absolved, and we maybe are going to need to see the rest of the map stack up. Otherwise, Mutter is not going to be able to get to late game.
Yeah, and also the power spark of Yunara, that comes in, let's say, if you have one item, or at least a pretty good, maybe even an enchanter besides it, you notice that Yunara can throw out a lot of damage quite early on, even also late game, of course. But for Smolder, you need some time to ramp up, of course, Bandit, and that may be some issue for Absolved GG to survive the early game.
Yeah, I think it is most noteworthy, especially with the Aatrox being locked in after, and the Maokai most likely going into jungle, right? Could technically still rotate to support if you'd really want to, but most of the time that is just going straight into the jungle. And with an Aatrox in your top lane, you are saying to me, all right, Smolder, good luck out there. Maybe you'll be put up with a Braum, and it's surviving for you there this game. And we're going to top lane, and we're going to make absolutely sure that this Sion is not having a good time, and will get the absolute most out of his passive.
Yeah, but you should have to play for Smolder, right? If you want to make it work, you should get Smolder something, right? Do you feel like maybe, Bennett, there should be some more attention for the bot lane? Because otherwise I feel like your late game is over, right? Where could the damage come from then?
Well, Smolder is going to stack regardless here. Especially when you look at the range on Yunara, the range on a Nunu, the range on a Sion. You can swap after a little bit if you would really like to. You're going to get the stacks on Smolder. And contesting a Yunara in lane, especially early on, right, those first few levels, going to be very tricky. So if you can get over that hump and just cruise it out, you'll be fine. But Dakin might have very different ideas about that with that Nunu lock.
So that's just again to be clear to everyone watching at home, I believe this is still Phraze on the Nunu. We've not seen the Nunu from him before, but we know Phraze is a very deep and very champ pool, and this is a champion that can literally and metaphorically snowball a game very quickly, right? It's not very commonly seen, and it can affect the lane ganks very hard. So I think the Venom Crest want to keep the pace high in this game. The only kind of the weak-sided Sion for Refresh up and top side is it gives them at least one lane where they don't have to focus on. But I really want them to get something that Ketsuo can kind of perform early in mid-game and be effective on. You need to get money into Christberg early and try and push a lead. You do not want to let Mutter scale up, and I don't think you have to do so. But the fact that we've got Emil R5 counter pick is kind of scaring me, I'll be honest.
Yeah. It is scary, but I'll be very honest, I'm not a fan of the Nami here. I mean, I feel like unless there's some Swain-ish, Echo-ish, like some more frontline-ish coming in from Absolved, I feel like you're very exposed, and with a Nunu, with a Sion, and of course the Milio next to it, you're gonna have a very rough time being the Smolder, being the Nami, because you're so exposed.
And I think the only good disengage you have is Nami Wave. But all of the other things, they take time. The bubble takes time to reach you. Also, the Maokai has a knock-up, but also needs to get there. I feel like there's a lot of time for those, like a Zed, maybe a Nunu, to get in that fight and maybe make it hard. This will be the very first game. This is the composition we will look at, of course. There's a lot of question marks with both of my analysts on the desk. I noticed it right away. Trajan, what will the first game do? Who will take the first win?
I do think this is actually... This is obviously very heavily dependent on what Ketsuo is able to do on the Zed. He could be absolutely invisible, giga useless, or he could murder Mutter and Gibble on repeat and just completely remove that late game threat of the Smolder, right? Because Emil is on the Echo. That is a classic Emil pick. It means he feels comfortable and he feels like he can exploit the matchup, which he probably can, but it's not as easy to 1v9 a game. You can eliminate one target, you're going to be looking for Christberg on this pick, but if Venom Crest can play together properly, if Refresh can peel properly, if Machu is able to keep him alive, then Christberg's going to go nuts in this game, I think, and Ketsuo is going to have multiple targets that you can go to, and nobody's going to be able to stop him. So I like what Venom Crest have. This is still dependent on them being what they can be, not what they have been, but I think this could be a good start from them.
Yeah, indeed. What do you think, Bandit?
I think if you look at it, and we have been talking about Ketsuo multiple times now, the thing I was very worried of was them putting him on just stable, safe picks, not giving any agency, just kind of band-aid it, being like, all right, we know it's not optimal, but here's just something stable like a Victor, like an Orianna. You'll be useful later on, right? It's not really his champion pool anyway, but you get the point. But the fact that he is pulling out the Zed, give him like, well, you can say what you want, but he is digging to the bottom of the barrel. He is giving it his all, and if he's going down, he is going down fighting. And that is something that will have my respect regardless.
But you know what I really miss on the side of Absolve GG? Is there's a Sign and there's a Nunu. And what I like about Smolder a lot is Smolder can fly, right? So that gives a little bit of safety to dodge like snowballs or the Sign ultimate. So yeah, there's a bit of safety. What I would have loved to see is a support that could stand in front of him to tank it. Whenever it's not dodgeable anymore and there's a Sign coming in and snowball, let's say it's an Alistar or a Braum or whatsoever. Something that makes sure that the engage can stop. Right now, it feels a little bit like, well, who's going to stop it? Yeah, well, the Nunu wave's not... the Nami wave's not going to do an awful lot versus Sign. That's unstoppable. Snowball usually even reaches through that if you're a bit too late. Like there's a lot of safety that I miss on the side of Absolve GG. And given the fact that Smolder is their main carry, Seconds can Smolder fight in those team fights. That's something I'm worried about. So I feel like Venomcrest is in a very good place, Trajan, to grab the...
I think they are. I think that the top lane matchup, as long as Refresh can keep himself out of trouble and not let Cormac become a secondary threat here, because like with an Aatrox and a Nami and an Echo, you can get dragged into long fights where you just can't kill anybody, right? You need to have good target selection here, and you need to make sure these threats are not able to confuse you and pull you in different directions. Venomcrest have been looking a bit confused, where they're not all on the right call, or the judgment's just not very good. This has been kind of the thing that's kept them down at a 3-6 record. If they can be focused, keep the target selection proper, get the goal where it needs to be, remember your win condition, I think they're good. I think they can take this game one. If they get confused, if they get lost, if they get pulled in different directions, I think Absolve might eat them for breakfast.
Yeah, I think I'll tag on to that, and I'll get some justice on the name Giebel, right? Because I have been praising it in Champ Select, and it's easy to see how a Nami can die, but the value provided if she can huddle behind the Aatrox, and the Aatrox can really get in there, be that little distraction or bringing the fight towards them, having to be answered, it is going to be very important. Venomcrest looks fine, but the ceiling is with Absolved, in my opinion.
Thank you so much to the both of you for giving us all that information. It is time to head on over towards Summoner's Rift, and it's time for our very first game in the best of 3 inside the lower bracket in between Absolved and, of course, Venomcrest. There's 2 casters standing by. King and Hyper Bubbles are more than ready to take us to the Summoner's Rift and enjoy their casts.
Hello everybody, and thank you, Bo. I am here tonight, King with Hyper Bubbles. We are your casters, and that draft was insane, Hyper, wasn't it? Like, not what we were expecting at all.
No, not at all. I remember we were talking before we went live about the expectations and what specifically we thought we were going to see from Absolved, and this is not what we were thinking at all. I think almost every single role has something where we're like, oh, whoa, we thought it was going to be this or this instead. So I'm really excited to see how they can just go ahead and say, actually, we have all of this other things that you didn't prepare for already, and we're going to win anyway. I'm going to see if they can prove us wrong.
Exactly that. Best of 3 right here as well, so we'll have to see if they have more in the tank for the rest of these games, and they're just trying out something new for game 1 as we load into the Rift. And we're going to have some fast junglers today because we got double matching runes right there. These guys are gonna be running around, and I'm excited to see how these jungles path early game, because Nunu can bring a lot. He does enjoy a level 2 gank even if he wants to try and get away with it. So we're gonna have to see how Absolve play around this early vision.
Yeah, exactly. And also to see if they're going to use both these junglers have some form of early ganking power to them, and if they're going to be able to use that early. So especially in the top lane, you know, the Aatrox into the Sion, that is definitely one hell of a matchup. Definitely not a very happy time for Sion. So the question is, are they going to be helping him out at all, or are they just going to say, you're a Sion, you'll be fine, you'll scale up? And on the other hand, are they going to say, Aatrox, you can carry if you get ahead and get kills, or are they just going to say, nah, not our problem? Looks like they're just invading, getting down some vision, and leaving it at that for now.
Exactly that. Big thing from these solo lanes from Absolved is they both got to choose their counter picks. Both Emil on this Echo and Cormac on this Aatrox. So these guys, they wanted these champions, and that puts the pressure on them to perform and get that winning lane, right? Emil looking for the echo into this Zed. Katsuo on his Zed is something I have seen before, and it's going to be very exciting to see how they play this one out. But I want to see Emil try and get some shoves in and get some roams out, because if this Aatrox does get a bit of a lead over the Scion, it could definitely seal this game for them.
Yeah, exactly. And as you were mentioning earlier, looking at the jungle pathing, it looks like the Maokai is starting on the bottom side, so heading into the top side, so that would already really be in the place that we want to see it going, with just a little bit of heavy trading in this bot lane. I think that overall bot lane is a bit more in favor of Venom Crest right now. With, oh my god, you were right, they are bloodthirsty here, just trying to do all the poke damage everywhere.
Emil with that electrocute 3-hit passive, they know their trade patterns and they want to play around it. Katsuo forcing to take those potions early. Bot lane should be an interesting one to watch, because with the Smolder, it's something you'd imagine that wants to scale up through their passive stacks, whereas this Yunara does have some kind of like earlier snowball potential if they get ahead. So that's what I want to see FaZe doing here on Venom Crest. Like you said, pathing down to the bot lane, get their AD carry ahead, and Chrisberg is not one to be shy to carry a game. And if they can get those early kills and essential gold on this champion, that is for sure their win con.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually see that FaZe is a little bit faster on his clear here. Seeing the Maokai actually skip his red buff to sort of try and keep up with that, going back to it after. Oh my god!
Emil in the mid lane getting the first blood. I said this guy picked the matchup for a reason, and right there we get to see it live in action. Meanwhile, FaZe looking to sneak into this ball lane, but I don't imagine him going to do too much here.
He's just sneaking along these lane bushes. Oh, here comes the snowball.
He's looking for something they can get maybe a bit of damage in CC. It will just be a bit of a damage pop right here. And maybe, actually, no. FaZe under the tower here. Forced to flash away, but he's tanking it up. And right there, Chrisberg, looking to keep them alive, is on the run themselves. No one does die here, as a bit of an overcommit comes from Venom Crest. But hey, still works out in the end.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. It looked very interesting, to say the least. But crazy enough, it was a flash and a heal for a flash barrier and a heal. So somehow, despite that, it still seemed to work out.
Nunu is surprisingly tanky with the Q heal. That chomp does give them some good health back. And we see Dakin here looking to get onto Refresh. Does have the Twisted Advance to get a guaranteed CC. Is able to knock Refresh away from his tower. But Cormac doesn't quite have enough damage to get the kill. Meanwhile, FaZe here coming in with the snowball. Maki was able to take a kill there, but that's a double kill over to the bot lane of Venom Crest before FaZe can put in any more impact.
Yeah, that was also before FaZe came in, as you said, so it's a 2v2. Oh my god, in the top lane again. They are ready to fight this game. But importantly, it was actually the Milio who picked up both of those kills. So unfortunately, not onto the Yunara, who you would have loved to have those kills on. But hey, you know, supports deserve a little gold from time to time too. I'm sure he can make a great use of that.
It's definitely not the biggest waste at all. You know, you can get your early enchanting items, get your AD carry to survive a bit more. You know, there's some kind of way you could pretend to justify it. But I'm sure if you are Chrisberg, you would have loved to have that few hundred gold lead. We do see Smolder there pick up that coal to try and just assist on that stacking. And FaZe going towards the AP route on this Nunu as well. We will likely see a double Liandry's combo going in from this jungle. Now, Bubbles, with the dragon spawning, what do you expect to see from Vision being set up here? Is this something that Absolve's going to try and prioritize?
I think right now they are trying to set up the Vision overall, but I don't think they can really contest it if Venom Crest decides to commit to it. Because as you mentioned, if you look at the ADC itemization right now, you have a pickaxe against a coal, and you have a tree against a snowball.
Tree against a snowball as they are fighting over the Raptor camp. It looks like FaZe was able to smite that away. But this has been an aggressive game. I mean, while we were there, Cormac took down Refresh in the top lane, so that's the second solo lane kill for the side of Absolved. They have managed to shy away FaZe back into their jungle, but they won't be playing for that dragon. Instead, Dakin moving to the Raptor camp, gonna try and get that extra XP towards themselves.
Yeah, I really think Dragon should be in favor of Venom Crest right now, just simply because of the bot lane itemization difference. And unfortunately, while Emil is way stronger right now, he is not in a position to be able to move. And we have a proxy Scion again. Never
know what?
fails to make me laugh. Just Sion ulting through a tower, not caring about anything.
I don't hate it, right? They've already dropped the one solo kill, so at that point, you may as well try and play as far back as you can, just neutralize the economy right there so that you're getting gold, and Cormac is going to be equally matching on that. It does mean, however, that the priority in the lane is a bit interesting, just depending on who can move first, and I want to see if this means Absolve's going to try and prioritize grubs instead, because if you can pick up those tower-destroying abilities, that's a great way to boost your gold in this. And the bot lane still struggling, shoved under tower constantly, which does mean that FaZe wants to go down bot lane again. We're going to have to see another funny dive from him.
Yeah, definitely. But despite the fact that they're so shoved, if you look at this CS, they're actually doing completely fine. So they're soaking up this extra pressure nicely. We have, well, a 1 CS lead in the mid lane, but it is still there. And then despite the proxy farming, we have a CS lead in the top lane as well. So, you know, it's definitely there. It's nothing to scoff at. And as a Smolder, you do want to stay in this state where you can keep even. He's making sure to get all the stacks possible from it. And of course, this Aatrox is just playing so ballsy, going in enemy jungle 2v1 and just not being scared about anything here.
I mean, I get it. Look at the items from the Scion here, right? Refresh has been stacking up as much armor as possible, and soon enough, Cormac's gonna just, you know, not want to interact with this at all. And instead, we're getting Daken making a play onto the bot side right here for the first time as well, as these junglers are just playing so much on this map. And with this priority now, Emil on the Echo, being able to always get the shove, this should be a dragon, but potential for Grub's trade as FaZe is on this top side of the map.
Yeah, it looks like exactly what you said. They're going to be trading for it. It is important to keep note of the feats here as well, because it is 2 for 2. And if this kill on the Aatrox goes down, that could be the feat of strength going over.
FaZe looking for Cormac managing to dodge away as this is the fight he's looking for. Flashes away from the knockup, but still takes a huge chunk from the Absolute Zero. And that will be a slow but sure death for Cormac as they are healing as much as they can. But that is a kill for Refresh. Feats of strength being completed as well. Daken on the other side of the map trying to take away some camps instead. But those aren't the objectives that Absolve need.
No, definitely. But Emil is looking on the flank here.
He's looking for it. Knockup comes through. Emil, big damage onto Matthew. Kill goes over to Gibble in the end. As that does, in overall, make it a 1-for-1 top for bot side kills. As now the objective trade should begin.
Yeah, but it's these supports always taking the kills, huh? It seems like they got on a call before this game and they're like, what if it was our time to carry? We pick enchanters and we take every kill. Yep. And I mean, we'll see how that works out for them.
Daken's in a rough spot here too, because Emil didn't be able to crash the wave before. Ketsuo could look for something in there. Instead, I guess Venom Crest won't look for more, as FaZe can get a clear and free invade. As Daken will take their time. Maokai does clear these objectives pretty fast with the % jungle damage on their Q. But it'll have to put them a bit off tempo, as I like FaZe's invade here. They do have to be careful though. Emil does not like this Nunu trying to take away the jungle from him, but will get surrounded themselves, rooted away. Ketsuo here. And this is going to go for more. Cormac actually showing up, but FaZe is forced to flash out of that one. This has been a... These teams are out for blood, aren't they, Bubbles?
Definitely. I mean, they're always positioning so aggressively. Every time, they're just peeking into each other's jungles, trying to get as much information as possible, and using their health bars very wisely as resource bars, and they're just not afraid to just go in and trade a little bit, so that's really, really nice to see. And that gives me some hope as well that this is going to be a very bloodthirsty series in general, because, of course, we know this is overall a very important series. The loser of this series is out, so they want to fight for everything here.
Exactly. This is the moment where you have to build your win streak all the way up to the potential finals. And Venom Crest, back-to-back winner. This is their last chance if they want to make it to the hat trick. We'll have to see how far they go, as I do like that they were able to secure those grubs, because as just a permanent split pushing like stat that you get to towers, Refresh on the Scion is going to love having that additional damage. Ketsuo as well. Both of these champions can enjoy the side lane. And that little bit of extra damage, that permanent little stat boost is good. Absolve, on the other hand, can look for a play on this bot side. Chrisborg gets taken down by Muter, but here comes FaZe with the snowball. Knocks up only one, double kill over to Muter, but FaZe is out for kills, roots inside the Absolute Storm, and that is a double kill for the Nunu.
Yeah, there you see the power of this specifically AP Nunu, and he bought the Dark Seal as well, so that's extra stacks and extra more AP to go. Really, really nice. But on the other hand, of course, the Smolder got a double kill there as well. This time the Nami support did not take the kills. So, real, support actually being supportive. Very nice to see the Smolder trying to just get accelerated a little bit. Next time we can maybe take a look on how many stacks he is at. But yeah, overall, just still continuous fighting. But the gold lead actually hasn't moved that far yet.
Continuous fighting all the way around as the Dakin is looking to get onto Matthew here. The stun lock coming in clutch, but Kitsua takes down Emil before they can get their own stun in there. Dakin looking to get revenge for their mid lane. Does have the Leandri's bird, but it dashes back in for Kitsua, who gets the double kill. Meanwhile, Cormac on this top side, fighting for their life, will not survive, as these are kills everywhere. We're at 15 kills in 12 minutes.
Yeah, every time you look in one lane, you think, oh, okay, that fight just ended. Nope, never mind. There's another one going on the river in the top side. And yeah, overall, very, very just insane to see. Really nice. And now we take a look at what's coming up next, assuming that these teams are going to take a little breather to set up for the next objective, which is going to be this Drake in 1 minute and 40 seconds. And just take a breather, get some CS, get to your item breakpoints, and then we can go ahead and continue with the fighting.
Yeah, I don't know about these teams taking a breather. As much as I love that, these guys are outed. And with this dragon up in 1.5 minutes, that is 1.5 minutes of prime fighting time ready for it. The second dragon can be a bit more interesting too, because it's just, you don't want to give away those free stats. Absolved would love to be able to get that dragon stat check building for them. And Emil should be able to get a bit more push into this Zed. Zed getting those 2 kills before was beautiful. That was such a good play from Ketsuo to be able to trade those back. And they have now completed the first item for them as well. And you can see they are happily trading back into Emil at sacrificing of getting the prioritized in this mid lane.
Yeah, definitely so. But as you mentioned right at the start of this game, we're seeing how these fights go down with the roams.
Fight being forced towards this bot lane, the landing onto Matthew. Matthew not able to get away from that as they use all of their abilities to run away. Emil, though, on the priority roam, dives under tower, looks for Matthew, cannot get out in time, and here comes the snowball. Nothing to interrupt it besides the Nature's Grasp, as kills dropping left and right. Dakin, the last member standing from Absolved on this bot lane, meaning an overall priority going towards Venom Crest.
Oh, but it's not stopping on the top side. Alright. He's a little bit too tanky at this point. But yeah, these teams are so ready to fight all the time. But here we actually saw exactly what one of the issues was that we were talking about so much before the broadcast began, is that if you pick this Nami and you have a Nunu running at you, you have a Zed who can dash all over the place, you have Emilio who can cleanse some form of CC, then it's just like, okay, what are you going to do? You can't stop everything. You use the Nami wave to engage, and then you have nothing to stop the Nunu running at you.
Exactly that. Like, Phrase's snowballs here can just... It's a Sion ultimate in a sense, because sure, Sion's actually unstoppable during it, but you may as well be unstoppable if there's nothing to stop you. And if you have to trade these big ultimates from the side of Absolved to be able to stop this Nunu, it's a big sacrifice right there. Now, they are starting up this dragon. It looks like Muter will be there first, but Phrase running in with this snowball will not connect onto anyone, but it does buy them some time as zoning. And this is a Nunu! You cannot outsmite the big boy! And he will use the Absolute Zero to buy some time as the engage comes in from Ketsuo, looking to kill the AD carry, picks up one, and now Absolved is on full retreat. Phrase running into the jungle, not wanting to commit too much as Ketsuo tries to get Gibble under the tower, isn't able to complete a kill, and Chrisborg, better late than never, shows up to make sure Absolved retreat fully back into their jungle.
Yeah, it looked so good with landing that bubble on the Nunu, but then the burst damage just wasn't there to get it down in time. And then, yeah, Nunu is just notorious for being such a good objective taker that at that point it was just an outplay. Just walk in, press your button, and walk out again as if nothing even happened. Exactly what we love to see with this Nunu, especially when, as you said earlier, being this AP Nunu, having now 10 stacks on the Dark Seal, so maybe even going in the direction of a Medjay, I assume, because, why the hell not?
honestly, you can get away with it because the extra healing you get through the AP keeps you alive, it's a bit more damage, and it's just more Snowball on top of the already existing Snowball. And this is a great pick for FaZe because it's something that they can get away with and just be incredibly aggressive, but not being that gold resource greedy. Look at this guy, 304, able to walk towards a tankier item now. Dakin just slacking behind, unable to just contest any of these objectives. We see roster of Absolved here looking to try and get onto this Herald, but what are they going to do? Nunu Q Smite's going to come off cooldown any second now, and that's a free objective going over to Venomcrest.
Yeah, and not only that, it looks like they're going to get something on this Aatrox too.
Cormac forced to sidestep away, is going to flash, but still going to get dove under tower as they send everything topside. Dakin doing what they can to try and keep their top laner alive, but it's too late. However, bot side, Absolved will be trying to push this tower. I don't know if they get it first. Meanwhile, Dakin, spotted out on the recall, does manage to get under tower to keep themselves alive for a bit longer. They're gonna look for the dive here, but this Sion, tanking it forever, will be able to buy himself more than enough time. This does mean that Absolved picks up the tower first, but at cost of their own jungler.
Yeah, and I definitely think this is worth. And during that series of events, actually, one thing that I really like to see is Zed teleported towards the bot lane just to make sure that there's nothing that Absolved can do trade on the other side of the map. So we had both Yunara and Zed in the bot lane and everyone else in the top lane fighting for this Rift Herald. So it was just like Absolved had nothing they could do anywhere on the map, and then they just felt like they had to walk up and get some vision on the Rift Herald, and that just led to their demise, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's showing that Venomcrest, their mid lane and top lane duo here, they exactly have the best start to their lane, but they have scaled very, very nicely into this mid game and are becoming threats in their own thing. I mean, look at Sion right here. Refresh 3-1-1, having completed that Sunfire, incredibly tanky, and will be absolute Sion shenanigans on the side lane. That Cormac, don't need to Sunder Sky. It's going to be interesting to see how much they can try and potentially contest this, and it's going to put even more pressure onto Muter here, this Smolder, needing to get those stacks up ASAP, because that extra burn damage is exactly what you need in a situation to just get yourself some kind of chance to win. As we haven't touched yet on the dragon of this map, being a Cloud Dragon. It's a bit of an interesting one too, because we're going to see which team can stack those up, and which team will obviously favor having that soul more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if we take a look, well, Nunu self-roots a little bit. Sion, well, he's gonna go fast anyway. So then you take a look at more importantly, okay, what about the sort of proper, like, I'm gonna burst you down and do damage, the assassin, and I'm gonna stand 5 screens away and do damage to the ADC. And especially with that sort of transform on the rest of her her abilities, then it actually might work quite well on Yunara. Whereas, of course, on the side of Absolved, pretty much all of those champions would love extra movement speed. It's why the Nami actually is a sort of decently good connection with all the rest of the champions, but it's just, it hasn't quite worked out the way as FaZe is just wistfully looking at that ward.
FaZe was having a staring contest with their own ward, as now he's going to run donuts in the mid lane, looking to set up that push in the mid lane and prioritize, because the vision control for this side of Venomcrest before this dragon is great. Even more so, Refresh is there before Cormac, so they have the 5 members strong, and this is going to be a really, really hard fight for Absolved to try and get into.
Especially having a Maokai that is not on the objective before the fight, it feels so bad because you don't have the time to throw those saplings everywhere. You just have to kind of sit as far away as possible, try and use the saplings to phase check, but that loses so much.
Refresh pulled the ultimate into mid lane, maybe trying to get onto Gibble there, but however, Chrisberg does empower themselves to try and get some extra damage there. So, no kills there. Cormac on the top lane did get a tower, which will make me think that this is going to be Venomcrest's signal to try and force out this dragon. They do start it out, and I don't want to see Absolved step too far into this. They don't have the vision, they don't have the setup, and it looks like Venomcrest will take that dragon from them.
No, exactly, especially because we saw the Aatrox pushing that top lane, then recalling, not investing that TP. That's just signaling they don't want to go for it, and yet, are they still stepping up?
Oh, Frey stepping in aggressively here, forcing Emil to use that ultimate just to keep themselves safe. And you know what? I love it when a Nunu gets this far ahead. They can be so ridiculously confident here because they have the extra healing and shielding from this Milio. Matthew doing a great job keeping them alive. Phrase pulling the ultimate because Emil doesn't have that escape tool anymore, and Ketsuo on the flank does not have, he's spotted out, is he's looking to ult onto Dakin, who will use the Twisted Advance to get away for a minute. Phrase trying to loop around the corner, won't get more as they are fighting off 1-for-1. This is a very split fight through and through, as they're gonna dive onto Refresh here, but they don't have the damage as Absolved now dashing back out. Nami Bubble will not connect, as both these teams are fighting on a knife edge, but will not secure any kills.
Importantly, it looks like the Smolder got those execute stacks now finally going, but unfortunately, just no one really fell under that threshold. There was multiple people who were close to it, but at that point, you just really have to hope. We see the Rift Herald just, you know, trying to assist a little bit.
Oh, Refresh dashing instantly onto Emil. Emil forced to push the ultimate to buy themselves some time. Flashing as well, will get the stun and the shield to buy themselves some time, as Cormac also here on the TP. As again, this team will not take a break to not fight for a minute. Resetting, TPing back to the lane. But this whole time, Ketsuo on the bot lane getting some free solo XP on this side lane. And one thing I want to shout out, I do like how Ketsuo went for this Mana Mortis second, because it's just a bit of respect, right? There's a lot of EP damage coming out from the side of Absolved, and with this item, he does not have to worry about either of them.
Yeah, and I think we queued up in the wrong game mode or something, because they're playing ARAM, even investing the TP, just going back into this mid lane. So, you know, if this is the way the game's going to keep going, I am so ready for it. Especially with now the Atakan being spawned. Are they starting it? It looks like Nunu is already on it, and there's not really much Absolved can do about this.
I don't think they even know. They don't expect it, because look at the vision. There are no wards on that side of the map. Emil's top side does have TP. Cormac doesn't have TP. Yeah, there's nothing Absolved can do. They cannot walk into here. Maybe Dakin would spot it out with a sapling, but that is just going to be a free Atakan over to the side of Absolved. As well, we'll see Neuter trying to get some more stacks into this mid lane, trying to get some kind of push in, but won't be able to get it. And instantly, right there, we do see Ketsuo TPing topside, keeping the defense there. Dakin even pulls the ultimate here, trying to catch on to someone, but Sion very nicely tanking it away, using their own stoppable ultimate to be immune to that CC.
Yeah, that was really nicely done. Just, you know, Sion using the ultimate to make sure the ADC and support are not in any danger here, because for a second it did look like Smolder was going to start punching out some damage, but here's the Nunu.
Oh, Nunu snowball onto Emil and Gibble there, being able to keep themselves alive for so long, as Chrisberg gets that kill, is on the hunt for more. Dakin does get the stun, but knocks them out of the Nami bubble. Ketsuo dashing into the middle of the fight, does go under tower, giving a kill over to Muter as they're trying to clean this fight up. A flash forward from Cormac, getting more and more as here comes the dragon, flying down on the hunt, looking for one more kill, but Matthew will not give it over, and that is some essential gold into the pockets of Absolved.
Very much so. Very big shutdown. Really nice to see, and especially this Aatrox was just having a moment where it's just like, oh, Nunu heals all the time. Yeah, but you know what? Aatrox has Thunder Sky, so yeah, good luck getting him below anything. But no, this was really, really nicely done, especially the Smolder getting that extra gold is so important. That execute stacks coming down, the big shutdown. This is exactly who you want to have the gold on at this point in the game. So very nicely done. Also getting that anti-heal item there that helps for the rest of the team. Very nicely done.
Yeah, the anti-heal is going to be absolutely essential for not only this Nunu, but you also have Chrisberg, who has some healing in their kit. Matthew as well, with all their abilities on this Milio, like that item will be essential, and Smolder is the kind of champ that can easily apply it to everyone. Dakin does complete their second item here, getting a bit more magic resist shred, so these saplings will become an incredible nuisance when Venom Crest are forced to walk through them. It's just a matter of them getting to the objectives first to set up that vision line. Like you said before with the last dragon, they had to go in late and couldn't set that up, and that's where they struggled, whereas now we're seeing the priorities kind of shift, it seems, as right now Venom Crest are the ones forced to walk in here blind.
Yeah, exactly. And what's so crazy is that now we have both the Baron and the Drake up, so the question is, are they going to commit to one thing? It looks like Venom Crest is going to go for this Baron, And you have a Nunu. It is so
Okay.
difficult to outsmite this.
Okay, but Echo is a champion. Echo has an insane amount of stealing potential. If Emil is confident enough, I could even see them trying to get the steal from FaZe. Instead, the fight will break out as Gible is trying to do whatever they can peel from Muter, but it won't be enough. Their AD carry is on the run for their own life. Cormac in the middle of everything, trying to tank them what they can, but Ketsuo causing disruption left and right, getting their own double kill, as right now Dakin and Emil is on the retreat, but Emil will be the last one standing, and that is 4 kills over to Venom Crest.
That was so nicely done by Zed. It looked like for a second it was time for Smolder to pop off. The Scion was really low, the Zed was really low, but then nah, it was crazy. I was looking at it, just trying to keep track of where Zed was teleporting, and he was just like, no, I'm gonna dodge everything you throw at me, even though I'm under the threshold, I'm just not gonna die.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is exactly what we want to see. If Zed is able to take down Smolder, it is becoming so difficult for Absolve to win fights.
Exactly. They have a lot of damage on their team, but it's not the kind of damage they need. It's a lot of burst coming out from Emil, some kind of tank sustain from Cormac, but just the consistent team fighting damage is all gonna come from Muter on this Smolder, and being picked down like that, also using both summoners to try and keep themselves alive, was not enough. And even to add insult to injury, that whole time when they were doing the Baron, Dakin wasn't able to complete the Dragon, and with so FaZe is just going to do that right now, is going to look to get the Q Smite, but never mind, Dakin secures it instead, as we're getting another fight, ladies and gentlemen. Absolved on retreat as Ketsuo tries to get a flank around. The burn is enough, as this time Muter is able to get the kill. Refresh on this Scion, looking to hunt for more. Won't get it, but that is a good Dragon secure from Dakin.
And what is crazy is these gold swings we're seeing here. I mean, before that before the team fight, before the Baron, the gold was like really in favor of Venom Crest. Oh, never mind, we have another one.
Emil in the midst of the fight, they're looking to chase down Refresh, but there comes the snowball, and I think Muter stepping a bit too far forward, does get taken down, and right in a flash of an eye, triple kill for Chrisberg, as they manage to get that snowball, and that's an ace with Baron over to the side of Venom Crest, and in an instant, this game has just flipped to the side of Venom Crest without a doubt, as they are looking for this Nexus.
Definitely so. I mean, it was just 3 or 4 minutes ago, we looked like it was even in gold again. And then now we're looking to end the game. The Nexus is about to be vulnerable. There's no one really left to defend this here because Nunu just presses R.
Cormac desperately trying to get at least one last kill onto Matthew, but it's not enough as Venom Crest take the first win tonight in this best of 3, putting themselves on 1-0 and also 1 win away from keeping up their spot in these playoffs and sending Absolve on an early vacation. What a game, Bubbles. That was so much energy, so much going on.
Yeah, and the thing is, looking back, with the exception of, you know, that one team fight that didn't go so well, it was overall a really clean game from Venom Crest. So it was a lot of chaos in the early game. Everyone was permanently fighting, but Venom Crest didn't mind that at all. Yes, they had, you know, the solo laners at the first levels not go so great, but to be fair, you have a Scion. You don't actually care that much if you die once or so. And in the end, the scaling just came through, and they just said, no, it's fine. We're gonna fight as a team better. And that's what they did. They played really well. They played really coordinated. They played around their vision, as you highlighted multiple times. And they just played coordinated around the objectives. That's exactly what we want to be seeing, and exactly what I hope to see the next game, or maybe 2 games again.
Yeah, exactly that. And Ketsuo just had a fantastic game as well on this mid lane. Bit of a rough start, but into the mid-late game, they were everywhere they needed to be on Zed to keep pressure onto Muter and Gible. And that right there to me was more than enough to seal the deal. And hey, I'll have to say, I'm sure our desk will have a lot more opinions on this game. And that's not it for tonight, because this is a best of 3. So we've got more games coming up, but I'll let the desk break down the rest of this game for you.
Thank you so much, W King, and of course Hyper Bubbles, and Hyper it was. I saw an absolute rollercoaster of a match, and Trajan. First of all, the pick and ban phase was interesting on its own. Some interesting picks like a Zed, who maybe had to dash over some Maokai stuns. Like there's a wave for Nami, but it might be a bit slow. Like we had millions of scenarios playing out. Eventually, the first few minutes, Trajan, how did that work out for you?
Well, it worked out exactly the way it needed to work out. What do we say, right? Remember what works for you. It's index into the bot lane. So Frey's spam gank bot lane. The first one, I'll admit, had us all question mark spamming in the chat. We did not really know what he was thinking that time, but he just goes around the lap, right back around for the repeat gank, picks up a double kill, right? That's what you needed to do. Use that Nunu to really heavily affect the early game, and that's what he did. He got bot ahead, he was getting top ahead, he was everywhere on the map was Fraze.
Yeah, Bandit. So the Nunu pick makes it annoying to play against. I think we all have experienced that one, even in the top lane when Aatrox was ganked. Like, he used his flash, he used his dash. It doesn't matter. The B man Nunu is coming in hot, and there's no escaping it. Did you feel like the Nunu had the impact that was useful enough for Venom Crest to get those picks?
Yeah, I think the impact was quite high, and I think it had very little to do with the Nunu, if you know what I mean. I think this was just Fraze all the way. He phrased the frick up, and he brought it home. But he can pull this out on Jarvan as well. He can pull this out on Elite. Like there's so many more options to do this with. This was not exclusive to the Nunu, and I think it was very inspiring to see, because after 14 minutes, I was not convinced they were ahead enough. And then a switch flicked over, and suddenly they earned like 3,000 gold in like 4 minutes, and suddenly they were 5k ahead.
Yeah, like in the blink of an eye, a lot of things happened, and it felt like, but initially it felt like for Muter there were stacks coming in, so I still had a big expectation that perhaps the Smolder would be able to deal well enough, but then it felt like the team composition around Smolder, it felt rough. Trajan, was there any point in time you felt like the Smolder could have enough impact with the stacks, the team composition to fight its way around that composition?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like at times Venom Crest were really reaching in that mid game to try and get onto the backline. They were forcing early ults from Emil, they were getting poke onto the backside, they were pushing into the jungle, but they just couldn't get their hands on anybody. And there was a moment where they overreached, and Ketsuo goes back in, but he's forgotten he doesn't have his ult still, and Smolder goes crazy, picks up 1,000 gold shutdowns in that fight, and that was the moment when it was like, okay, we've tossed it, we've thrown the lead, all the lead is gone, and it really just came down to, as we said, target selection from Venom Crest. Do you remember that you need to kill the Smolder? If yes, win fight. If no, lose fight. That's just kind of how it played out.
And this all boiled down to the performance of Ketsuo in the mid to late game. I think it was so extremely decisive. The shadow back into the backline, get rid of the Smolder, toss out the Nami. He absolutely blew it out of the water, and that is exactly what Venom Crest needs.
I got very good news. We'll kick off with the of this game, which is earlier inside the match. We'll get back to that particular Z moment a bit later, Bandit. Or no, this is it actually. We got the correct replay right away. So, Bandit, this was one of these moments where they debated and they started it up, but something might have happened there.
Yeah, now you can see it here, and the fight starts off horribly. The Sion is already on a
The stocks are up! Venom Crest take game 3!
Oh, Malphite. All right, here we go. Just
Still going for this space, you would as Chimera super low. Trouble, but there's the Rakan coming in for the shielding. The shielding again. Oh my god! And everyone bow down to Venom Crest, two-time champion.
Welcome back to each and every one of you. It's Venom Crest who won their first game, and we're almost heading in towards the second one. It is a best of 3, so this could be the deciding one until maybe Absolve GG finds some strategy to renew something on a Summoner. Trajan, maybe to quickly point out some of the feedback that maybe you guys want to give to Absolve GG to provide them their first win.
So, one of the biggest pivot points that just didn't come to fruition was we thought the mid-match would be very Absolve favored, especially when they gave him the counter pick. He picks the classic Echo, but he just really couldn't get a purchase in this game. And Dakin as well in the Maokai, we had a lot of questions in that game. That was a really rough start for him. So that mid-jungle duo maybe just needs to switch it up. I think that previously they tend to blind for Emil, leave the counter pick for bot side to try and get that one in a better position. I think you can do that. Just give Emil a real high value normal mage blind in the mid lane, just let him outvalue Ketsuo in a less volatile matchup, and then leave Mucha's pick to later in the draft. And Dakin, it might be time to bring the Fiddlesticks out, dude. It's time to break glass and show the Fiddlesticks, because this one more loss, and Absolve are just out. The season's just over.
Yeah, indeed. So they need to switch something up, of course. And Bandit, to add on what Trajan just said, of course, in the pre-show, we did discuss the fact that Emil could be the biggest factor, at least in regarding maybe the lane gap there is. And even on a comfort pick, if on the Echo, it felt like for Absolve GG, Emil wasn't able to have that impact that probably he would have wished to have on Summoner Rift. So what do you feel like is something that Absolve GG could transition towards the second game?
Yeah, I think that was really, like you guys said, we were lacking in team fights a bit, right? It was all on the shoulders of Mutter, and they could just not bring it home for the very moment. Now, give it something more meta, and we'll see. I would like to point out first, Fiddlesticks is not entering this game. First ban that hit the table. No, sir, Dakin. You're going to have to play something more conventional that we will have answers for. Now, when I'm looking at Emil, the Victor is left open, Orianna is left open, all those beautiful, boring mid picks that we've come to learn and love.
Mm-hmm. There is
Indeed.
an Akali open that might be a bit of both, like gives you a bit more pop-off potential, but it's a little more stable in the lane, and it has some bad matchups, but Ketsuo, it's fearless. Ketsuo can't play Zed again, and we'll see, how he's able to match up there. So maybe we'll see that come out for Emil. The first pick being Lucian, though, that was one of the bans that was just replaced by Jax for Absolved in the second game.
Yep,
and Crispberg wastes no time going towards it, and clearly wants to continue trying to dominate the 2v2. That is really what they were trying to do in game 1. They had jungle help to achieve it, so I think they might do the same again.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And it feels like they want to have even more power inside the bot lane earlier on, right? So with the Lucian, you can go, of course, Nami is one of those famous ones, maybe even Braum, to make sure that you have so much pressure in the bot lane. Of course, Venom Crest did have a lot of assistance on the bot lane with the Nunu in former time, so it feels like there need to be some different strategies. Of course, a very lot of team fight tactics and stronghold is, of course, Wukong and the Misfortune Bandit. So it feels like for team fighting, Absolve GG already got a good fundament.
Yeah, and I think something interesting to point out is Absolve chose red side this game, right? And we didn't see him do a lot with it on the previous game. So with the mid pick still being, I mean, they can still pick it up on B3. That is definitely fine. However, from what I saw in top lane, I was not very convinced that a more heavy, bruisery, maybe semi-carry-ish on the top line is going to make the difference. Especially with how stable Refresh was playing. So I'm really hoping that Absolve has a strong plan here to shake things up, because by just playing the game regularly, I think Venom Crest have shown that they have what it takes to win games here.
I think this is a really, really tough R1 misfortune, I'll be honest, because the Braum came straight afterwards, the Azir after that, very, very, very easy MF disruption, came straight past it, and the opponent is illusion that, yes, it does give MF can get some purchase in the lane and doesn't get pushed around as much as some other AD carries, but when it comes to the important later stages, he can just piece out of that, he does not have to stand in it, no one's going to make him. So I think this MF is a really questionable choice this early on. I like the Ziggs pick. It's a good pick into Azir, and Emil's Ziggs is undoubtedly good. It's definitely an underrated mid pick right now, and the Wukong is certainly fine for Dakin. He could try and stick to Lucian, but
Yeah.
I hate this MF, man.
Yeah, but also for Wukong it's hard, man, because the really good tactic about the Braum and the Azir is the fact that it doesn't matter if Wukong is invisible or not. Every target gets knocked up or knocked away. So it feels like for Braum and Azir to deal with the Wukong inside those team fights is really nice, because Wukong is actually really strong versus for any utility that has like the one pick potential, like one hook or something, because you use that on the clone and that's screwed up, man. But now you can actually just shove away and there'll be no danger left for Fusion. So it feels like for Venom Crest in the earlier stage of pick and ban, at least up to me, it feels like they have a lot of good answers already. Then the final few bans will come in at this point in time. Absolve GG still needs to do the composition quite well. Bandit, are you actually worried about the misfortune pick as much as Trajan is?
Yeah, I think it's is it going to win the lane against Lucian? And not very convincingly, right? Because Lucian Braum is just very strong. So let's be generous and call it a skill matchup. So if they are not devastating in lane, and in the team fights they have the answer as well, when is this bot lane going to spike then? We've already seen what's going down in the jungle, and we have seen Dakin being very eager to gank the bottom lane regardless of how much the ADC has to scale. So there is some hope there. My eyes are once again going down to Emil, and I was looking at the composition. It's like we need some range to deal with the Azir, so I was immediately thinking Xerath. However, Ziggs is just Xerath but with bounces. So I like that part. You're shutting down the dashes from Azir, from the Braum, from the Lucian. However, who else does that really well? Taliyah. And I think I would have just preferred that a little more, with some easier impact to make on the map, especially if you're going to pair it with a Braum.
And speaking of pairing it up, it's the famous misfortune Bard lane. Not that beknownst to a lot of team composition. Of course, Bard can have real nice picks versus especially Azir. You can lock him down while he's maybe trying to shovel away, and that means it's on cooldown. But Bard is risky as well to have as a first pick when we're not sure what might happen with the rest of the team composition, Trajan.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk factor here. You can completely whiff both MF and Ziggs' ultimates and Wukong's ultimate. You need to hold the ult for the right time and use it in the right way. The stuns are good. I like the fact that it gives him, you know, movement on the map, but I don't think you want to be abandoning Mutter into Lucian Braum when there's a Vi jungle now locked in for Raze, who can just go completely and drop the hammer on this MF bot lane if it's abandoned by Gibble for too long. Plus the refresh Olaf coming in, that this Mutter is going to get steamrolled in this game, bro. Everyone is going to run him over.
Well, you can also use portals to escape. I mean, so that you can use the magical journey to head back home. I mean, that's also an option, of course. One more strong answer
to try and get them in there and try and stop them, right? But this is so reliable on these skill shots being absolutely perfect every time. There's so many threats, man. This MF is gonna get dusted. I swear.
Bandit?
Yeah, and once again, what is this team composition lacking? a buffering agent to pull these punches away from their carries, the Camille's not going to do it. The Bard is maybe a little bit with his ultimate going to do it, but you're not dealing with the Olaf. You're not dealing with the damage that an Azir's coming out. So once again, I think Venom Crest have really figured it out in drafts, and if they can stick to the plan, which they also have shown in game one, they sometimes have trouble with, right? Let's not kid ourselves. It was not a clean game, so there are gaps to be exploited. But Venom Crest, once again, just a very solid draft.
That feels a little bit like they have a good answer on all of these options that Absolve GG threw at them. But in the meantime, also in the former game, we have seen that Absolve GG is a very good place early on in the game and to find maybe something to get back inside the game. So still for Absolve GG, of course we discussed team fights would look later on. We get to team fights, of course, Trajan. It is time for the laning phase. Wondering, like, is there maybe any lane that has a bit of a better side for Absolve GG, or you feel like everything's going to Venom Crest at this point?
So the Ziggs lane, you don't dominate Azir, you just don't lose, right? You both farm up, no one really interacts that much, and that's kind of it. And Ziggs is very hard to actually make a 1v1 play happen unless Ketsuo completely loses his mind and disrespects him to an insane degree. Bot lane, like I say, I don't know if the Bard really gives them a good way to try and use the MF to bully the Lucian Braum that much, but again, the Rakan and the Rell are both banned away, so, you know, what are you really supposed to do here? Top lane is just going to, this could go 5-0 to the Olaf, it could go just like completely 0-0 and the Camille farms it up. Ultimately, I think Refresh played top lane really, really well, but Cormac is a very strong 1v1er, so I'm expecting actually nobody to really die up in this top lane more than once or twice. I don't think Absolved really has a way to smash the early game or to acquire a lead that is big enough to keep Venom Crest at bay, and I think they have to do that.
I'm going to push back there a little bit, Trajan, because I think with the setup that Venom Crest has for themselves, I think that the weak link in this chain is the Olaf in the top lane. If you do manage to shut that down, and it is scary and a little tricky to dive an Olaf, right? Similar to the Warwick with the amount of damage and healing that can come through. But if you can push this Olaf behind, he will be absolutely low impact top laner, to put it nicely, right? He can't fall behind. If he falls behind, then all right, cool, we can't CC you, we'll just murder you.
Yeah, but the Vi is a bit of an insurance policy for Olaf, of course. I mean, if Vi hasn't engaged and Olaf jumps in, of course, that could still mean that even a 0-2 Olaf can grab a kill. But before we get there, guys, it's time for predictions. I know we did it earlier this broadcast. We're about to go to the casters. Trajan, is the series over after this one? Or will maybe Absolve GG grab their first win?
I think it's done, man. I was 2-1 coming into this one for Venom Crest because of how suspicious they looked and how well put together Absolved was, but that's just not what we saw in game one. I think it's 2-0.
Bandit?
Yeah, Absolved is not winning in draft, and game one did not give me any confidence they're going to win on hands alone. I think Venom Crest is going to take this one as well.
Ooh! We got a bit of a switcheroo. I also believe that Venom Crest has the better answer in almost any of the lanes, any of the jungles, anywhere you are. So I feel like for Venom Crest, this could be their chance to fight back as the 8th seed. They may be taking down the 5th one. But before we get there, it's time to go to Summoner's Rift one more time. And of course, W King and Hyper Bubbles are more than ready to take us through the Summoner's Rift and the second game in this playoffs bracket.
Thank you very much, Bo. We are back with another exciting draft. And little fun fact from our side, we also had some predictions before the game, both myself and Bubbles here, and we both said 2-0 Absolved. So right now, from that kind of prediction side, we're a bit nervous, especially with this draft going on. Bubbles, talk me through it. What are your first impressions from it?
Yeah, I mean, I was completely shocked by the first draft. It was not what I was expecting at all. And now in the second draft, we're sort of seeing once again a little bit of question marks coming up, specifically, as mentioned, around this bot lane, so around the Misfortune. I'm personally really interested to see how this Bard is going to be playing, what this Bard can get done, because I actually think if Bard has so much impact on the rest of the map, it'll be fine. Misfortune can just like sit under tower and try to do her thing as best as she can. But if Ziggs and Camille get ahead, I actually think that might be a way to actually get Absolved this much needed win.
Yeah, I think I actually completely agree, especially because the last time I saw Bard played in the Four Nations was last split, Paragon Neotech playing this Bard. That guy took over the game on Bard. They did like the second most damage on their team as well. This champion has so much potential, and if there's another support that I trust to do it, it's Gible. This guy has shown me they love a support where they can thrive in chaos. The first time I ever watched them play was on Poppy, and they just were everywhere on the map. So who else loves to roam on support? Bard. We'll have to see, well, once we're in game, how that performs, because the top lane matchup is going to be just as key here. Last game, we got the counter pick over to Absolve. Didn't exactly work out as the game scaled on. Olaf into Camille now. That's a bit of an interesting matchup for sure, right?
Yeah, so adding on to something that the desk was already talking about a little bit, I think if Olaf gets ahead, it is going to be an absolute nightmare, especially for Misfortune, because yeah, you can stand still and press your ultimate, but by the time Olaf gets to you, well, you're kind of dead. And he can just heal through anything. But if Olaf falls behind, the poke damage that Misfortune and the Ziggs can do, and the Bard, not to underestimate that,
Yeah.
is going to be able to kill him before he can even get to that healing point. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much they can snowball in this case.
We don't have the Nunu snowball this game. We're going to have to look for the gold leads. And Venom Crest are looking to get maybe some kind of early gold lead, as they do stack 5 people towards this bot lane on the hunt for either Muta or Gible, who are potentially hiding in the wrong spot. They will now spot out the Misfortune, who is on the run. Well, CC will land. Brom Q does connect, and that will force the flash. But the rest of the roster from Venom Crest are out for blood. Barrier, flash, everything used, and that's a first blood over to the side of Chrisberg. And there is going to be nothing else for Absolve to get there.
That was so bloodthirsty. The only person left with flash is this Vi, because yeah, of course, Olaf didn't even have a flash that he could have used, but that was definitely just a moment where you said, we're going all in. The Braum lands the Q, I believe it was, and then you're just like, all right, we know we can stack this, proc his passive right now, we can stun him up, and then nothing that Misfortune could do was enough. That was beautifully done.
Exactly that, and it's just a little bit of a almost disrespectful play coming out from Muta to not just respect the Braum Q landing and the amount of CC you can get from those auto attacks. But hey, they do get back to bot lane. The kill going over to Lucian does mean they only get that little bit of CDR, which I'm sure Chrisberg will not mind having. And it does mean that these junglers have an interesting situation here now, because that's a lot of flashes not available, especially if you're Doc in here. You're gonna want to maybe try and do something. But Wukong doesn't do too much in the early game, as we're getting a fight here in the early game already. Emil versus Katsuro duking it out. The level up coming in from both sides, but Emil getting the win against the lethal tempo Azir.
I could feel both mid laners just banking on that level up, thinking they were gonna win because of it, and then seeing the opposing mid laner also level up was so scary. But yeah, as you mentioned, in the end, the Ziggs gets the W on that one. You know, Lethal Tempo is definitely a really strong summoner, or a really strong rune to use early on, but it could not deal with the first strike and the just constant poke damage. So yeah, really, really well done. We see Emil get another solo kill in the mid lane, just as last game. We just have to hope that this time, you know, they can use it a little bit better for the rest of the game.
Exactly, and with a champion like Ziggs, maybe that's a bit easier to utilize it on. You get that extra gold, you build those earlier items, and you can just use your poke in team fights. That is definitely what they need on this roster from Absolve right now. The poke coming out from Ziggs is exactly what can enable Cormac to be able to go in on someone that's low enough, or having Muter to follow up with their ultimate damage. Top side, we won't get anything too exciting yet. I mean, sure, the HP is towards Cormac, but this wave is crashing in, as we also see Phrase on this top side of the map after both these junglers get their full clears going. Now then, what are we going to do with these junglers this game, right? Dawkin on this Wukong, they really want this Cyclone to be able to get onto the map. It's all about Phrases. What can they do pre-6 to get the tempo over Dawkin?
Oh, and we're going in? No, the Ignite is not
look
enough.
For something. They actually get another bit of damage there, but the shield from Refresh does keep them alive. Phrase is on this top side of the map just to make sure Cormac can't get a perfect freeze. Actually dashes in, takes a tower shot in return. as they are dancing on a knife's edge both sides here. But TP is available for both these top laners, and that will be a good reset. I do like Dawkins' movement here, though. They could potentially look to pick up refresh on this TP.
Yeah, definitely. And what's really nice is that, yeah, Camille is once again refusing to take Flash because that is so overrated nowadays. Just going with the TP Ignite, and the Ignite nearly was enough to kill this Olaf. So, excellent usage of the Summoner spells, what we want to see more of. But now, in 20 seconds, we see the first Drake spawning, and with the Wukong on the top side, going to be clearing toward the bottom side, and having the Prio here, we're going to have to see how much gold these ADCs have when they base. It looks like Miss Fortune has quite a decent lead right now. And of course, you know, Bard is doing Bard things. So they're not in too much trouble. And we will see if they can actually fight for this Drake coming up now.
Dropping down those hot cocos to give some health back to Muter, and they do get the ward to spot out Phrase. They do know that they're there. Grisberg did reset here, which does mean they will be on this Dragon play sooner. And we'll have to see what Absolve can do here to try and crash this wave and get a reset for their Misfortune, because they are a bit low on the mana department and would love to be able to spend that goal, as they are looking to crash one more wave for that inevitable recall.
Yeah, and as we actually see, Lucian, as you mentioned, he already has his base. He's in a much stronger position, and if they are now able to prevent the Misfortune from recalling, they are actually now in the stronger position for this Drake, and they're going to be able to see and choose which objective they want to do. It looks like actually the Wukong is just going to start it up now. Misfortune wants to base, but let's see if Lucian lets her.
Oh, the Lucian is forced to face check here, and we do see Gibble using the tunnel, but the damage through items might just be enough needed for Chrisberg to get that kill onto Gibble. The better reset timings coming out from Venom Crest do allow them to get that second kill for their team. In return, Dakin is able to secure this dragon on their own. Emil on the rotation here is going to try and do something to get their AD carry that desperately need recall.
Yeah, I mean, this poor Misfortune has got to be sitting on so much gold, just wants to take a break. And now we're seeing if on the other side of the map.
Oh, Phrase doing an excellent performance on this vibe. Bare minimum right there. Flash Q forward, following Cormac through the hookshot with their own ultimate. Very, very good gank right there as Cormac steps just a bit too far forward. And now Phrase also looking for the pressure into the jungle of Dakin as well, knowing that Ketsuo has that priority. I like this aggression a lot.
Yeah, and of course, we saw the TP was used earlier, so all that entire wave that just crashed is going to be lost. Oh my god, just a sneaky little Vi in the jungle just gonna walk out after giving us a little bit of a heart attack. But yeah, oh my, Misfortune still has not had the opportunity to base. This is now... Lucian has based twice this game already.
Ketsuo dashing forward, not respecting the damage coming out from Emil as Emil tries to get the flash bomb, won't connect as Phrase gets the kill for themselves, moving them on to 2-0. Emil trying to get that flash dunk, isn't able to get the kill. And yeah, like you said, this poor Muter on this Misfortune just unable to reset, has 71 farm. They want to be able to spice something. Meanwhile, topside, Dakin is able to use the Cyclone onto the Olaf after that ultimate timed out, giving a kill over to Cormac, as now Absolved is slowly trying to bounce back into some kind of play here. Meanwhile, Phrase dancing around as if they were going to threaten the dive, but backs off instead.
This would be absolutely game ending for this Misfortune, because she has been staying so much and she's been picking up her farm so well, just using the ultimate to clear the wave and buy herself that much needed time and space now. So yeah, we're very happy with that. Gonna see if the Bard matches her recall as well, or if he's gonna use this free timer to roam around. We see that actually both the objectives now go over to Absolved. So, you know, in the split push, if Camille is ever able to, and of course, you know, with Ziggs with his tower blowing up bomb, we're gonna see a little bit extra damage there. Hopefully getting that first tower in the favor of Absolved as well. And now should already have 2 points in the objectives as well, so the feats are getting on the way.
Dakin faking people out with the standstill, however, Vi will be able to connect the ultimate in the end to get the kill, as Dakin a bit too deep trying to take away this blue buff after already securing those grubs. Objective taken, kill given over, Phrase 3-0 on this Vi.
Yeah, and we consistently see this, how both sides are still, we saw it last game too, are still dipping into each other's jungles just to try get vision, take away whatever they can from the enemy team. But at some wins, as you said, it's just a little bit too much, a little bit too far. But now looking back at this bot lane, the Misfortune finally got the chance to base, and that is one hell of a first base to have so much gold in her pocket.
EF Sword, Vamp Scepter right there, exactly items they would want. Now at least they're on par with items on Lucian, even though Lucian has these 2 kills up on them. We'll have to see if they can use this gold to keep securing those objectives. Dragon spawning in about 1.5 minutes, and you know if you're Absolved, you want to secure that to just get the tempo on all these stacking objectives. Cormac able to keep up the pressure in the top lane, will have the shove consistently there, but this time Emil not able to match the permanent shove onto Ketsuo there, as both these mid laners are playing on max range, farming from a distance, and we'll have to see who can make the bigger plays in these team fights, because Azir is such like a play-making champion. Ziggs can make some plays with their bombs from a distance, but when it comes to something big and flashy, Ketsuo showed it yet last game on a Zed, and I'm sure he would love to show it again on the Azir.
Yeah, definitely. And we see in 1 minute the next Drake coming up already. But the question is, can Absolved even really fight for it? Because, yeah, at this point, Lucian is 2-0, the Vi is 3-0, and we're just seeing fist fighting in the top lane all over again.
I like it though.
Yeah.
Refresh confident though, able to step up with the ultimate available, knowing that with the Ragnarok they can run down Cormac at any moment. Cormac without the flash, only having the hook shot as that bit of mobility. Gibble does spot out Matthew on the roam here. I actually haven't touched on this yet, but the spell book from Matthew, heal exhaust available on the Braum. I like seeing that because it just brings a little bit of extra utility available to this, and they have that opportunity to drop the exhaust on anyone that steps up too far, as Phrase finally dashes in there. And Gibble will try and get some damage out. Bard does chunk a bit, especially once they get the stacks, but that is a good vision security over the Venom Crest.
Yeah, but we do actually see both ADCs have now got their first item breakpoints ready. Oh, are we going for a fight?
The ultimate from Braum is pulled away. Here comes a big bomb from Ziggs to get a bit of extra damage down. Crispbook using their own ultimate, but a nice setup from Gibble here will put everyone golden. Phrase dashing in onto the AD carry will take them down 1-for-1 as Darkin gets CC'd up too. Double kill over to Crispbook as the shuffle comes in. Triple kill to Venom Crest, and that is the fight they wanted.
And it looked so good for Absolved, but then it didn't, because there was just that little bit of miscommunication, misalignment, where both the Misfortune and the Bard ultimate were hit on the same spot at the same time, so a lot of that damage was unfortunately mitigated. But the idea was there: use all ultimates on a fun, just a group of people, do as much AoE damage as possible, knowing that the Braum shield is down. That's exactly what you want to see. It's just so unfortunate that there's just that little bit of misalignment there, because that fight could have gone very differently.
Exactly, and Crispbook with that triple kill, now 6-0. Having that first item picked up and some extra components on top of that. Ninja Tabi picked up as well. A bit of respect coming through with this bit of a, defensive boots. Not something you see very often on a side of an AD carry, but I like it here considering how much auto attack damage is on this Absolved roster. And this does also mean it's an Infernal map coming out onto this Rift, which will give so much extra damage to any team that's able to stack it up. But considering if we even get to the point where Soul is on the table, as we're already seeing a bit of an aggressive play coming out from Absolved bot lane here, and the culling will be used there. Try and keep that wave safe.
Yeah, the Ziggs was sort of teetering towards that bottom river, ready to ult if anyone was going to get low. But in the end, Lucian just used ultimate to clear out the wave, make sure there was no worries there. And, the tower did a little bit more damage than expected to this poor Misfortune. She's really been trying her best. I mean, overall, Misfortune's farm is really, really good. We've been keeping pace for 10 CS a minute, roughly the past 4 or 5 minutes, which is really early on. But how are you supposed to match an enemy Lucian who is 6-0 at 13 minutes in the game?
Great question, and that's something for them to figure out. Is items are being completed on the board. We're seeing 2 Triforces already on the side of Absolved as well. But Vi also just very nicely tanky with that Sundered Sky. And again, left alone to defend for themselves. A good ultimate from Gible does buy their AD carry some time, as they do inevitably get taken down. But the rest of Absolved is here, but it doesn't even matter as Darkin gets blown up before he can do everything. Emil left on their own, and that is 3 kills over to Venom Crest, double kill over to Chrisberg. And right now, it's a lonesome Bard hiding under his tower. Ketsuo chunking them down bit by bit, and will get the kill in the end.
It looked for just a split second like Venom Crest were on the wrong side of the map, stuck between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower. But then they just said, nah, actually, this is ours now. You cannot be here. And they even committed the teleport into it, and it worked out fully in their favor. That was just a dream of a fight for them.
Yeah, it was a lot of potential tunnel vision there from Darkin as well, unable to get onto the carry of their choice, and with that Cyclone never being used, as I like phrase, on the respawn straight to top lane, does go onto Cormac, who's trying to use the hookshot away. But this is a very fast bot lane, but Darkin here with the Cyclone does get a knock up onto 2, and that is a very essential kill. Phrase dashing back in, knowing that Matthew is all around the corner. But there's Gible on the side too, shut down over to Cormac. But here's the Fed AD carry. Is there enough damage from the side of Absolved to kill him? No, there is not. Double kill over to Chrisberg, flashing away from Gible, but they will not be able to get that. And that's another triple kill for this Lucian. 11-0. Tower available top lane. Absolute disaster for Absolved.
Exactly as you said, 11-0-1. This is an absolute nightmare of a Lucian. He is going to... Oh, meanwhile in the bot lane... okay, we just saw the enemy AD carry blow up because, yeah, that would happen when you're an ADC who doesn't have 11 kills all of a sudden. But yeah, this Lucian is feeling so unkillable. But this is exactly what Venom Crest want. They are in such a commanding position in this game, and at this point, how are Absolved ever supposed to go and walk up and face check any bush if there can be just a Vi waiting there to press ult, and Olaf just waiting to walk up and hit you, a Braum pressing your ultimate, knocking you up, and then you're going to die. It feels so rough already.
Exactly that. Chrisberg here, 3k gold ahead. Gible trying to get some vision down, but the entire squad of Venom Crest is there waiting for him. No escape for this support, as that is a free kill 20 seconds before this dragon spawns. And this is exactly what Venom Crest want here. Infernal Dragons to give them additional damage to stack on top of this already crazy lead. Sure, the gold's only about 3k, but on the gold graph before, 3k gold was only there for this AD carry. Chrisberg picking up a second kill. Phrase using the ultimate to cancel the own from Muter, as here's Cormac trying to get a kill into someone. Will manage to get the shutdown over to their AD carry, but now they have to retreat. Cannot get the escape. Chrisberg picking up their 13th kill of this game. This Lucian is legendary.
Yeah, and at this point, they're just really throwing their wallets around. This is the third time now where they're just tower diving. Oh, poor Ziggs.
Oh no.
Okay, he gets out. I think the Olaf maybe could have run him down there, but in the end, he figures the wave is too important at this point. We need every little bit of resource we can get. But yeah, it feels so difficult now from the side of Absolved to try and, maybe get out here. Yes, he gets out just in case.
Yeah, there was a bit of a scrapping in the mid lane as Gible did manage to get the shutdown for Chrisberg. But you know what? Honestly, if you're Venom Crest and you're going to give that shutdown to someone, it may as well be the Bard at this point. As this Lucian is not only giving away that 1,000 gold, but from the looks of things, still has that shutdown available. That is how far ahead this Lucian is right now. 3 items completed before 20 minutes. That is a happy, happy place for Chrisberg. And this guy is going to have an absolutely insane game if they can keep up this tempo.
Yeah, and at this point, it just look at... Oh, okay, instantly spawning the Rift Herald.
Okay.
Just taking Shelly for a little drive, just taking her for a spin. Oh, barely drifting past that wall.
He's got to go into mid lane. Okay. looking for the flank on the Chrisberg. No, never mind. They're going to run into the wall as Chrisberg nearly takes down their entire AD carry. Dakin on their own, diving onto this AD carry, but will get nuked down, burning from the red buff. But here comes Refresh on the hunt, throws the axe, forcing Dakin to flash away. FaZe won't go in to chase anymore, as a bit of a awkward play from Dakin there. Double tapping that sweepers must have been a bit of an error. But hey, who needs Herald? Overvalued resource, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, see, the mid tower's down anyway, so we can just pretend the Herald killed the mid tower, and then it's all good.
There we go.
Oh, meanwhile, Lucian does get hit by the bar.
Ooh, Flash and Barrier being used as they are hunting down a bit more. They're playing on a nice edge as Absolve do whatever they can to try and make this pick, but it's unsuccessful. Stun after stun coming from this insane Braum value, giving 2 kills over, and Emil got tagged by the axe, and that's going to be more than enough. They dropped the minefield that did kill Chrisberg. Well, that's a double kill for Ketsuo, and towers to be taken. Atsukan on the map as well. This is objective after objective for Venom Crest.
Yeah, and at this point it is so difficult because you know you have to throw everything at this Lucian, but I mean they just did. They hit Lucian with a Bard ultimate, they had Camille on the flank ready to go in and immediately use her abilities, they had Misfortune ult ready and firing, and it still just wasn't enough because Braum stood in the way and said, no, this is my AD carry, you're not going to get past her.
And Dakin stepping up as if they're going to steal that objective, just gets run down from Venom Crest there, giving another kill over to the side. And I mean, just look at this scoreboard right now from Venom Crest. 5-1-11 jungle, 15-2-5, 1-2-18, 5-2-8. Like, everything there is just so fantastic looking from Venom Crest. Yes, Refresh does stay a bit too long and is being chased down, but they're gonna live for long enough that you could even believe they might get out alive. Hookshot will connect, and that's another kill going over to Cormac. But at what cost? Because you didn't already gain anything.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. Every single person, with the exception of this Olaf, is just so far ahead. This just feels like a bit of a top lane moment where the two top laners are just looking at each other, just saying, GG, I got more grasp stacks, or GG, I got more healing from Conqueror. And that's all you can do, because these AD carries are running this game. And yeah, and there goes the Bard, just immediately blown up. Because what can you do against this Lucian? He's almost at 4 items at 21 minutes.
If you just saw him drop the ultimate on to Muter, and it already got them down to like half health. I'm not sure what Gibble was doing on that angle, but 1 dash forward from Chrisberg, 3 autos. If they all crit, that is enough to get the kill right there. And they have so much reset tempo on their abilities with the Novaris. Extra crit damage from the IE. This Lucian is an absolute menace. And you know what? Sure, Venom Crest, they can play aggressive, they can play the tempo, as they're pinging away this Ziggs. Emil stepping into the wrong place, but will not get away. Tries to use the satchel charge to escape. But FaZe picking up a free kill right there. And again, kill objective. Venom Crest have the formula, and they're looking to win it out.
Yeah, exactly as you're saying. And the thing is, because they just killed the Ziggs on the top side of the map, now Camille is forced to go there. They know that there's no chance to try and answer this Drake coming up in 20 seconds now already. And it's just, oh, are they even able to kill this Azir at this point?
They're gonna try to put everything to get that kill into their pockets, but it doesn't matter because the rest of Venom Crest is there to shut them down. They set everything to Ketsuo, and the only thing they got was some death timers as Chrisberg is trying to get a drift by onto this Bard, and it does not matter. This is a dragon being secured for Venom Crest, putting them onto 3. They have all the time, all the tempo, everything they could need in the world to get the push onto these towers.
I mean, these are just comical levels of damage coming through right now. Yeah. What are you supposed to do? I mean, there has to be some sort of kill record that is coming up now with 17-2-5 at 23 minutes. And just everything all over the map is being secured. And, you know, Absolve are trying. They got a tier 2, but nope, their Ziggs is dying again.
Yeah, Ziggs only living there because the flash was available. As never mind, FaZe diving in maybe going a bit too deep for the first time as they're desperately trying to take down this Ziggs. And they will inevitably fall, but they go for the kill, trading it back no matter what. And here we see Dakin in the midst of everything, trying to get a shutdown. Dakin has taken down Refresh, but Chrisberg still alive, picking up their 18th kill of this game. And that would be a great stat check for someone to do here, because this could be on tempo to be the most amount of kills for a player in a game in this speed.
And it looked for a second like things were gonna maybe... Oh, never mind. Bard's dead again.
He just dashes in, gets another kill, and even tanking through the Misfortune bullet time. But Getsuo's there, gets the kill after getting the tower as well, and that's an ace for the side of Venom Crest with a total of only a 6k gold lead. But again, I'm sure all 6,000 of that gold is in the pockets of this 4-item Lucian.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they are just flexing. They're just having fun. They're showing off. And they're ready to say, like, hey, our placements might not have been that great, but you know what? We're going to do just fine anyway. And my bad for underestimating them. I'll say it right now. This is not the performance I expected. I'm incredibly positively surprised.
And you know what? Maybe that's what Venom Crest are. They are the team that when you need them most, they step up. And right now, FaZe having an absolutely banger 2 games right now, looking fantastic. And reminding everybody watching, this is the back-to-back split jungler winner. And you know what? You don't get that for being completely useless, as he is a bit deep here looking for the red buff. And is just gonna solo dive onto the AD carry. Dakin using the Cyclone to peel away. But here comes Ketsuo with a lot of damage. And the flash in from Dakin, trying to get a bit more of damage, isn't enough as the jungler falls, and we can see all 5 members of Absolve sprinting towards this Baron.
Vi being a little bit too deep, but she definitely pulled out the I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck in here with me meme, because she just turned right around, pressed that ultimate, and just said, no, Misfortune, you're not allowed out of your base anymore. This jungle is mine. And I mean, it seemed to work. She did so much damage on just everyone. Oh, speaking of Misfortune.
Oh no.
Oh,
what were you saying
no.
about that not being Misfortune's jungle?
Yeah. Well, let's just say it definitely is not Misfortune's jungle. Oh no, there's the ultimate.
Chrisberg 100 to zeroing Emil with the culling. Gets a double kill as well. Cormac on the recall, as now this is the last stand moment from Cormac and Dakin. This is what they need to do, but Venom Crest is looking to end it all. 21 kills onto this AD carry. Nexus Tower is the only thing left, as this is gonna have to be, you're gonna have to do something at some point if you want to go for it. Cormac dashing in, does dodge out the shuffle, but not enough damage as Chrisberg picks up their 22nd kill. Dakin, FaZe is just running circles around this poor monkey jungler, and with that, Venom Crest pick up the win, the 2-0, and the continued playoff run.
I mean, where was this Venom Crest the rest of the entire tournament long? This is what we want to see. That was phenomenal. That was exactly what we want to keep seeing. So that was really, really well played. I hope to see exactly more of this for the rest of the tournament, because that was some exciting gameplay.
For sure. They came in absolutely banging. The first game, we again saw a bit of like leaning towards Absolve, but Venom Crest won out the mid and late. This game just had Venom Crest written all over it. Mid, early, late, and just everything. Venom Crest, much deserved win for them, as they will continue their lower bracket run. And I'm sure the desk has a lot of more points for them to break down. So yeah, that's going to be it from us. It's a best of 3, so unfortunately with the 2-0, we only get 2 games of casting. But heck, were those 2 amazing games to cast. Bubbles, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So well, with that, I think we'll throw it back to our desk to close off this stream for the night. Thanks everyone. I've been W King. It's been a fun one, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Thank you so much. It was a best of 3 with the best of 2 on the caster desk, of course. Thank you so much, W King and Hyper Bubbles. In the meantime, Trajan and Bandit are maybe even a little bit surprised with the outcome of this playoffs bracket. And this best of 3 has been concluded, so Venom Crest, congratulations on the fact that you make it a bit further inside this playoffs bracket. But how on earth did it get here? Trajan, kicking off with you. Again, in the pick and ban phase, I feel like for Absolve, there were some issues, there were some cracks, and maybe some hiccups that we needed to discuss with one another?
It's maybe some pitfalls that they drafted themselves and then proceeded to fall into quite quickly at pivotal points in the game. Unfortunate Bard ult timings and an MF with absolutely nobody who could save them, and even a Ziggs that, unless you're unreasonably ahead, you just can't survive with this level of dive. I feel like they put themselves in this position, Bo, and we can see in this first replay that they had a chance to turn this game around. This could have been the fight where they got the lead that they needed to play out a safe game, but I'm dreading what's about to happen on the screen, guys, because I know what's coming. And we have the Bard ult comes out, and there goes the MF ult, brother. It is ugly stuff.
Yep, it is true. And Bandit, the basis, the fundament of the Tribrush adventure actually was Venom Crest wasting a lot of spells. So the Braum ultimate was for nothing. The Braum shield was also not for, I believe, just like 100 damage or so. So it felt like, Bandit, this should be, in theory, the fight for Absolve to get back in the game, right?
It was one of the few missteps on the side of Venom Crest that really felt exploitable on the side of Absolve. But I think that really goes to highlight what we've been seeing, especially in the first 15 minutes. And that is just the communications breakdown on the side of Absolve. We saw it in the bottom lane fight where around, like, I think 5 to 7 minutes, Wukong wants to start the dragon, but they see a pick on the Lucian, but they don't all commit together. They have different plans. We've seen Emil caught out in side lanes. We see teammates getting caught in brushes.
Oh no.
Not to even mention whatever traffic violation this is.
We didn't ask for this replay, but Zoe provided it anyway, and I think I respect it.
It's creative.
Yeah.
It's very creative. Yeah. And once again, we see that they're trying to find their way to catch Chrisberg, which had the utmost disgusting damage in the entire Summoner's Rift for this game. They were trying to make a pick, but it doesn't seem to work, Trajan.
No, it just they tried to catch Chrisberg multiple times, and I believe we have one more replay that will show how that played out later. But Chrisberg finally got some gold. The Lucian's been banned away from him in game 1 and in previous series, slams it down early in the draft, and goes completely nutty with it. This finally felt like a time when Chrisberg could really flex the skills that he has been kind of hinting at through a lot of this split, despite the fact that the team has been, as you say, Rollercoaster Tycoon Simulator. They've been up and down and round and about. They've been looking completely confused. He has been the consistent, valuable piece. And today, in this game, dropping a 22 kill slammer, like, oh my word. But
and this is the one that Trajan meant, indeed. Let's analyze this one, because there was a pick on Chrisberg. At least they attempted one.
Yeah, you can see it all go wrong here. So much invested.
That's good.
And by the time it ends, it's just not enough, right? He has all the defensive tools at his disposal, safely tucked in behind the Braum, and then he is so hard to reach. And even on like just 300 HP, look at the positioning. He can just do whatever he wants. And if we're talking about Rollercoaster Tycoon, I think right around now, Absolve would like to get off Mr. Bones as well, right?
Nice. I like that reference. I knew that one.
They're off it. They're out. They're out the door.
Indeed. It was the lower bracket on that famous one. But for me, you know what I'm a bit disappointed at? Not like I feel like I haven't seen Absolve who was able to play anything they can. So they were so limited in their composition, which they picked in pick and ban phase, because eventually that was interesting also for the viewers at home. The gold deficit was about 3 to 8k maximum, I believe, throughout the entire game, despite the fact there were 40 kills for Venom Crest. And
to 13
still,
of Absolve.
Indeed, and still it felt like the gap was so big. And for me, it had only had to do with the fact that the composition was not playable. I mean, you saw with the Bard Misfortune synergy, which is really rough even to execute, even if you communicate well. There's Wukong, who can be pushed back by Azir. We've seen that one also on bot side. Then there's the Olaf, who doesn't care about your CC. It felt like there were so many components that were missing for Absolve GG that Bandit today, it felt like I wasn't able to see what Absolve is able to do in Summoner's Rift.
I can, it's, wins and losses are part of the game, very much the case. However, what is frustrating is when your team does not live up to its potential. And today, I think Venom Crest have blown all the expectations out of the water, but it's also part of Absolve not living up to the quality that we've seen them put up earlier in the season. But at the end of the road, that is what playoffs is all about. It's not about the averages throughout the season. It is who shows up on the day, and I think there's a very clear team that showed up today.
Yeah, that is true, Trajan. And despite the fact for Absolve GG, it felt so hard to play. The games were really cool to look at because there was a lot of creativity, a lot of fights, a lot of kills. So I still feel like as an esports enjoyer, I mean, it was fun to look at, right?
It was certainly an enjoyable one. Like, I mean, I wanted Venom Crest to win. I predicted them to win, but I don't know if I really wanted them to win like this. I didn't want, as you say, as Bandit said, I didn't want Absolve to just completely fold here. We certainly did not see the Absolve that could be there, particularly in mid and jungle. I think they were not 100% today. I refuse to believe that they were. But for Venom Crest, they are now a proper lower bracket killer at this point. If they're going to play like this, yes, they are still, as we said, they're a bit creative. They're a bit loose at times. Ketsor certainly was making some illegal maneuvers in this series, but just kind of got away with it. So there's certainly still a problem, I think, to be addressed here, Venom Crest. But bot lane was locked in. Refresh wasn't making the same level of mistakes he has in the past. And FaZe with a gosh darn masterclass today, man. I'll say it again. 2 excellent games from him. Anyone who runs into Venom Crest in the lower bracket has to be very, very afraid.
Indeed. Thank you so much. I'm wondering, maybe we got the updated playoffs bracket schedule. If it's there, if it's not there, no problem. I got it all written down. Like, I got my cheat sheet. Because today we saw on the lower bracket how Venom Crest was able to keep themselves inside this competition for now. Of course, for Absolve GG, because they're in the lower bracket, despite how hard they tried, they will not continue in the playoffs bracket. Of course, for this week, on the 28th of August, so upcoming Thursday, there's another playoffs match coming in hot, and it's Bulldog Academy who's going to play off versus Gucci, which, regarding to the standings, should be a lot closer by than what we have seen today, but today was actually a bit turned on his head as well, because it was Venom Crest with a 2-0. Trajan, maybe some quick expectations for upcoming Thursday.
So when we were looking at that series, the Gucci Bulldog Academy series, I was just thinking, why are we playing this series? How is Bulldog here? How have they made it here? And to be honest, I came into this series today going, my historical data analysis tells me that Venom Crest would smash this, and they did. So I'm just going to keep that energy going and say I think Gucci, hopefully, will actually start to realize some of the potential that we've been saying they have for splits on splits on splits. I do think Bulldog Academy are somewhat fraudulent, slightly imposterish in this bracket, and I think Gucci should be able to take them without too much trouble.
Bandit?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched mostly also like the earlier part of the season. I've watched some Gucci games, and they just seem quite solid, and their team flows together quite nicely. Bulldog Academy, I'm just not as familiar with. From what I've seen, they seem quite scrappy, and they seem to make it work somehow. But when they're matched up against teams from that are just a bit of a cut above, it seems to come apart at the seams. So I think Gucci is gonna yoink it away from them. But it's playoffs, guys. It's playoffs. We've seen how quick the tides can change.
Indeed, I think Venom Crest shook us all up a little bit, right? We're all scared now. Like, man, I predicted like a 2-1, but not this. Like, I could say, yeah, I predicted Venom Crest. No, man, I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I didn't expect it to go this way at all. Trajan and Bennett, I want to thank you so much for providing us all the information, the energy, and of course a broad smile on your faces. And also, of course, the two casters, Double King and Hyper Bubbles, because this broadcast has come to an end. Upcoming Thursday, we're going to continue with the playoffs bracket, so be sure to be there, because as you can see, there can be upsets, 40 kills, good information on the desk, so be sure to be there. In the meantime, I also want to thank, of course, everybody behind the screen to help us along, like Casual Cutie, who's being the producer for today and helping us along with all these graphics and of course, all the information that we need to make this a whole. That being said, thank you so much for being here. For the viewers who are still awake and still here, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you upcoming Thursday. Have a good night.